Free agent. He knew he was not going back to Milwaukee, and he pitched his heart out. He'll be going in as a Yankee, but Brewers fans will always love him. A busy week for CC Sabathia up in Cooperstown admiring the plaques. Young CC would never believe me. How cool is that? Today, the big fella is in our studios. Here's Harold Reynolds and Ron Darling with Sabathia.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Yes, Hall of Famer, CC Sabathia. How's that feel, man?
It's still surreal. It's still crazy to hear. Even just being here and seeing like National Baseball Hall of Fame, it's pretty cool though. It's exciting.
So first, when you got that phone call, what was the first things going through your mind?
Just like a relief. You know, I've been watching the tracker. Like I've been every hour. I was like refreshing the tracker just to check. And like, you know, we sat down. You know, we had a big party. I felt either way. Like if I didn't get in or not, you know, I felt like I wanted to celebrate with, you know, people that were close to me. And you know, that last 15 minutes when you're sitting there and it's like, is my phone working? And you know, we getting a good signal. It's a little nerve-wracking, but it was a great feeling.
You know what's crazy about baseball or any kind of sport? Really takes a village of folks, right, to get you through it, to get you to have your dream. Have those folks there with you must have been amazing. But were you going through your mind when you finally knew you got the call? How many people played such an important role in your life?
Yeah, I mean, just thinking, you know, coming from Vallejo down to, you know, my high school coach, Abe Hobbs, or, you know, even just thinking about Dusty Baker. I got a chance to meet Dusty when I was 12 years old and the impact that he made.
Wow.
Dave Stewart, you know, 9 years old, meeting him in a Boys and Girls Club. So, so many different interactions, and, you know, I don't think by accident, you know, if I'm looking back, you know, at my life. So it's pretty cool to sit back and reflect and think about all the different people that had an impact and you know, the way they, you know, changed the course of your life.
So Hall of Fame induction day, I did a breakdown on you, swinging the bat, hitting a home run, and a split. After I watched it a few times when I was getting ready, and I went, he finishes like Griffey. He's walking, watching balls.
I mean, growing up in the 90s, being a left-handed hitter, he was the swing that you wanted to emulate. So, yeah, I mean that finish, of course, but I couldn't get my elbow up there. I couldn't get to the fastball with my elbow that high.
Were you able to replicate the Dave Stewart stare? Because that was really important to intimidate the hitters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just, you know, staring down over the glove and you know, just the intensity that he pitched with. You know, being an ace of those Oakland teams. I mean, I had the Bash Brothers poster up on my wall, and, you know, Ricky Henderson, you know, I had the Mizuno gloves. So that was my squad, and having a chance to even go in to the Hall of Fame with Dave Parker. He was the DH on those teams. So excited to meet him and you know, grow a relationship with him.
So speaking of Dave Stewart and aces, the Black Aces, 15 black pitchers who won 20 games or more, right? And you're one of the Black Aces. What has that group meant to you?
It's meant, you know, everything to me to be, you know, part of the Black Aces. You know, it's something that Mudcat Grant, you know, stressed to me when I was young in that Cleveland organization.
Can you give me a little Mudcat? What did he say?
He was just, you know, he was always, you know, just adamant about me, you know, remaining the starting pitcher. And understanding what that meant in history to be, you know, a starter as a black man and, you know, to win 20 games was important. It wasn't important to me because, like I said, as a kid, I was a hitter. So I didn't even, when I got drafted, I didn't even know that you had to pitch 5 innings to get a win. Like, you know, so all these things were, you know, new to me. And he's talking about winning 20 games in the big leagues, you know. So, you know, I had to grow into all of these things that he wanted me to be, and I'm just happy that I was able to.
One of the great stories you told is you won 19. He said, "You're not there yet." You know?
Not there yet.
I think one of the biggest culture shocks is when you leave your home and go to professional ball, because you have this image that it's this most amazing thing. But going from Vallejo into Cleveland organization, what was that like?
It was tough. Those first 3 nights when I got drafted, they sent me to Burlington, North Carolina. I called my mom every night, and I cried. Like, I was like, do I got to get the money back if I come home?
I get it.
She was like, let's get this check first, then you can come back. But no, it was tough. I mean, you know, I was a spoiled kid. You know, I hadn't learned how to wash clothes. I didn't know how to cook for myself. I didn't know how to eat properly. You know, I didn't know how to use shower shoes. I'm going from high school where my mom's washing my uniform to now, you know, I'm putting my clothes on a laundry loop, you know what I mean? So all these different things about being a professional, I didn't
We're
understand.
laughing because we know.
No, you know, I mean, even the everydayness of it, like being at the ballpark every day, like you have to be at the ballpark every day at 12:45. Like that's a thing coming from high school. You don't understand that. So, you know, just understanding that when you leave high school and you know turn into a professional baseball player, it is a job.
When I look at your body of work, 19 years, The most surreal part is 2007, 08, and 09. I don't know if any player's ever had this kind of 3-year stand. You get the Cy Young with Cleveland Guardians now. And then the next year, you're traded, because you're going to be free agent, to Milwaukee. You put them on your back, did something that no pitcher probably will ever do. Yeah. Pitching on 3 days rest, you win 11 times in 17 games. And then the next season, you're with the Yankees and win the World Series. What was it like for you, and not only you, but your family, moving 3 times and being great each and every place you went?
Yeah, no, that was a crazy time in my life as far as, moving different places, different organizations. But on the mound, that was the most stable I'd ever been. And it was the second half of 2006, really. Carl Willis again. Yeah. We go into the bullpen in Oakland. I'm trying to find an out pitch. I need, because I'm throwing like a big loopy curveball at the time. And when I get the 2 strikes, I don't have anything to put a guy away. So we were going to the bullpen to learn a cutter. And I come out of that bullpen session with this 82, 83 mile an hour slider that I'm like, oh, this thing is awesome. So we go from Oakland, we go to Seattle the next start. I take it into the game. Ichiro, I get the 0-2, Ichiro hit it off the window. So I'm like, oh no, that's just Ichi. So I'm getting out with it and getting out with it. His next at bat, he comes up, I throw it to him first pitch, he hits it out again.
Oh my goodness.
But that was, the beginning of, that run where the next year I won the Cy Young, because I have an out pitch now. And then I get to Milwaukee and, go on that great run because, we had so much fun. We had, that clubhouse was so good. And, then I had a chance to come to New York and win a World Series. But, yeah, it was chaotic off the field and moving around. And, I have to give a lot of credit to my wife, Amber. We had our 3rd child all through in the middle and all that stuff. But on the mound, that was the most stable I'd ever felt.
So let's wrap it up with this. You started off talking about you were following the tracker, which I can't even imagine.
Everybody, if anybody tells you they're not following the tracker, they're lying. I'm telling you right now, everybody's following the tracker.
You and I were close. We didn't follow the tracker.
No, we didn't get there. So I want to finish with this. You started working on the speech yet? You got to be thinking about that at least, right?
I have not started working on the speech, and if anybody knows me, they know that I don't like standing up and talking in front of people. My hand's getting sweaty right now just thinking about it. So it's going to take me a while to, one, I want to get the speech done so I can practice it, because I get super emotional. I cry at everything, so I know I'll cry at the podium, but hopefully I can get through it and make everybody proud.
Man, we're proud of you, man.
So proud.
Thank you.
Awesome. It's been so fun. Congratulations. Well done. Well deserved. Guys, I know you're as excited as we are for CC. Back to you.
Remarkable, one-of-a-kind talent, and that's why this is remarkable and also one-of-a-kind. Yesterday, Ichiro was at the Hall of Fame. You got a glimpse of the Ichi meter, used in 2004 when he set the single-season hits record of 262. How cool is that, and his expression on his face? Today, Ichiro is in our studios alongside the legendary 29-time Emmy Award winner, Bob Costas.
You have as much respect for the history of baseball as any player I've ever known or heard about. You've been to Cooperstown 7 or 8 times already just because you're interested in the history of the game.
もちろんそうですね。歴史
Of course, I wanted to learn about the history, and that's one of the reasons. But really, as I played and as I hit milestones, broke records that some of the old Hall of Famers had accomplished, I felt a really close relationship with them. And so in order to get to know more about them and get to have a more closer relationship, I thought I needed to go to the Hall of Fame, Cooperstown, and be able to learn about them, be able to go in the basement and maybe get to touch some of their equipment. And that's kind of how I became closer to some of those players that I was able to tie or pass some of the records.
シスラー、ジョージ・シスラー
Yes.
という選手と、ウィリー・キーラーという選手ですね。
That's one of the things I've admired most about you. Sisler's daughter was at the game when you tied or passed him. And then when the All-Star game was in St. Louis in 2009, you visited his gravesite and said that you wanted to honor this grand upperclassman of the game. What a wonderful thing.
そうですね。やっぱそういう気持ちで
Sister's daughter came to Seattle and to watch, and I was so grateful for that. And really, the Cooperstown was Hall of Fame is there, so that I learned about these guys, and so it meant a lot to me to go to the gravesite, because that's where I was able to learn about them through Cooperstown, and so that's why Cooperstown is great for everyone, but especially for me, who I was able to get close to some of those that I was able to learn about.
What does it mean to you, given your respect for the history of the game, that you are the first Japanese player in the American Baseball Hall of Fame?
で嬉しかったのは
It wasn't a goal of mine to be in the Hall of Fame. I started my professional career at 18. It's just a little, every day working on the little things and working hard every single day and just getting better every single day. And I didn't know I was going to go to America to play baseball and for the big leagues. And that became possible because of just the everyday, over and over and over practices and everything that I've done to get to that point. And as I went throughout my career, there was an opportunity that, hey, maybe I could go play in the big leagues. And that's when I had an opportunity in 2000 at the end to be able to go to the big leagues in America. And so that's kind of the steps that I had to take to get to the goals that I've had. In 2001, my career started here, and I didn't know that I could last a year. And people around me didn't know that I could last a year. But, our team did well. We won 116 games. I was able to contribute, and I was able to just take those little steps every single day. And 2-3 years, I was able to do well, and then fourth year, get 262 hits, and just took little steps along the way. And look at me now, I'm a Hall of Famer. You look at the Hall of Fame, I don't think it's full of guys that are just so talented than everybody else. Look at me, I think I just took little steps and worked hard to get to the next step, and here I am.
People may not realize that your English is actually very good, but you like to speak in these situations in Japanese to be as precise as you can. But in Cooperstown in July, will you speak a little bit of English in your acceptance speech?
英語で話します。
I will make my speech in English. When we have these interviews, I'm shaky in my own language, Japanese. I can't speak it. And that's how I've looked at it. Obviously, I've wanted to learn English. I tried, and it's really hard. If you would have told me, hey, you could put a chip in my head, and I would lose 5 years of my life, back then I would have done it. But now I'm kind of at peace with that, and that I will. Of course, I want to learn English. I want to do better, but yes, I will do my speech in English in July.
With Hall of Famer Billy Wagner, it feels like, Billy, with guys like Ron and I, who've been advocates of yours for a long time, we've been saying that anyway. Now that it's official, how do you feel?
Overwhelmed. I think when you walk into that room of Hall of Famers and you see the plaques, you question it. Should I be here? And when people they give you this jersey and this hat, and you start to, it's still a little surreal, and it's such an honor, and to walk with some of these people that are just the greats of the greats.
I spent a lot of time around Ralph Kiner, and he said each year got tougher and tougher. I saw you when you got the announcement. You were very emotional. Where did all that emotion come from?
The 10th year was a big buildup. Everybody's expecting that you should get in, but and so you couldn't help but watch the tracker, and the tracker was that was very difficult. I'm glad they have it, but it was very difficult because you hear somebody say, well, there's going to be there's going to be a 4% that's going to drop, and you're trying to average that out, and so the mind games that you play, the mental game, and so that phone call, as soon as I got, and it was supposed to come at 5:15. and I'm looking at my phone, it's 5:16, and so you start thinking those things, and so when it hit, it was just that flush of emotion, of excitement, and the endurance of that whole fight to maintain your sanity, and really just the appreciation, the love of the sports, and that you get to move on.
It's been a fight for you since the beginning. I mean, the back of your baseball card almost reads like that of a mythological character, right? You're not 6'5". You had 100 in your pocket from the Ferrum College days on in. Other guys get discovered because the scouts were looking at you, Eric Owens, and people like that. But take me to the beginning of the Astros days, and you're the young guy on a staff of veteran dudes, and Darryl Kyle, and Shane Reynolds, and Donnie Wall. What were those days like for young Billy Wagner?
Well, I remember in Tucson when I was pitching, and Donnie was like the mayor of Tucson. He won like 17, 20 games every year, and he was a pitcher. He knew exactly what was going on, and I was just raw. And so Craig McMurtry was there, Darryl Kyle was there, and they had this experience, and they knew how to pitch. I had no idea what I was doing. My instruction was throw it as hard as you can in that direction, and then throw a curveball. I'm not looking at velocity. I don't even know what that means. Just because I was throwing hard and striking guys out, that wasn't going to be. But I was going to be a starter, so that was the plan when I went up. So when the guys got hurt, Hudak and guys got hurt, and they just kind of threw me in. It was kind of the luck of the draw, and so I was able to play off that one or two pitches.
I was thinking that this is a touchy subject now, and you coach young people. You were very durable. You very rarely got hurt. How did you keep your arm sound when so many others are not able to now?
I think it's just the way we did things. I think, we were built for longevity by doing long toss. And, all the things that they do today with heavy balls and things like that, we were doing with hay bales. And we were doing this with, we ran a different, it was just, we did all these things, but it just wasn't the fancy names.
You're playing down your arsenal, talking about yourself being a one-pitch guy, because we remember in '98 when Randy Johnson got traded over to the Astros, something changed for you, and the unit shared his slider with you, and there's another weapon for Billy Wagner, another rung under the Hall of Fame. What were those conversations like?
Well, really about that big. I walked over to him and I said, "How do you hold your slider?" And he went, "Like this." And that's all he said to me. He likes to say he taught me the slider. He did not. Brad Lidge taught me the slider.
Okay.
He literally, unit, you're getting no credit for this. He literally went like this. That's all he told me. And Lidge was the one, I was in the bullpen and I was struggling. And it was the first game of the year. I was really struggling. And I walked down and I said, "Brad, what is going on?" He goes, "Do this, do that." And I was just, and it was different.
Wow.
It was so different. And I mean, I was throwing a slider early, like 80, 82, and he showed me one grip and a thought, and I was 88. And it was just crazy. And and Brad has the nastiest slider. Him and Rob Nin, probably two of the nastiest sliders I've ever seen. And that was, when that was good, that was really good. That was a big difference.
Everyone needs a Brad Lidge in their life, don't they? I was just thinking, one of the most important things is when you see your plaque, and it'll have this history written on it about you. What would you like to see on your plaque?
Endurance. Because I think for a reliever to get there, you think about Lee Smith, you think about guys like Goose, Eck, all these guys. I mean, to get to this point in your career, you got to have endurance, and you go through so much. You're one pitch away from scrutiny, where as a starter you have some luxury to get through some innings, but endurance and just thinking about watching Mo, he made it look so easy, but the endurance it took him every single day to go out there and just be so good every day, and him and Hoffy were just phenomenal.
We loved watching you, man, and I know that you've heard from a lot of friends and family and ex-teammates, but on behalf of all of us that have watched you from the beginning, man, way to go.
Appreciate
Happy
that.
for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
クーパーズタウンの殿堂入りは、すべてのプロ野球選手にとって最高の栄誉だ。今回、その栄光を手にしたのは、サバシやイチロー、そしてビリー、ワグナーの3人。 彼らのキャリアを振り返りながら、野球の持つ魅力、努力の積み重ね、そして彼らがいかにして歴史に名を刻んだのかを探っていこう。サバシアは西暦2001年にクリーブランド、インディアンズ、現在のガーディアンズでデビューし、長期にわたりメジャーリーグのマウンドを支え続けた左腕エースだ。彼のキャリアの中でも特筆すべきは、西暦2008年のミルウォーキー、ブルワーズでの活躍だろう。シーズン途中で移籍し、チームのプレーオフ進出のためにわずか17試合で11勝、防御率 1.65 という驚異的な成績を残し、まさに魂の投球を見せた。特に週3日登板を続けたタフネスは今でも語り継がれる伝説だ。彼は殿堂入りの瞬間について、信じられない、電話を待っている間、何度もリフレッシュして TRACKER をチェックしていたと振り返る。そして成功の裏には村の力があったと強調する。野球は決して一人では成り立たないスポーツ。彼を支えた高校時代の監督、メンターとなったダスティ・ベイカーやデイブ・スチュワートとの出会いが彼の成長に大きな影響を与えたという。また殿堂入りに際し、サバシアはブラックエイシズ20勝以上を記録した黒人投手の集団の一員として誇りを持っていると語る。特に伝説的投手マット・キャット・グラントからお前はスターターを続けるべきだと言われたことが彼のキャリアを大きく変えたという。このように彼の野球人生は多くの人との出会いと支えによって形作られたのだ。イチローの殿堂入りは日本の野球界にとっても大きな意味を持つ。彼はメジャーリーグ史上最高のヒットメーカーの一人であり、西暦2001年のデビュー以来、メジャーリーグで数々の記録を打ち立ててきた。特に西暦2004年のシーズン262安打は伝説の打者ジョージ・シスラーの記録を破る偉業だった。シスラーの娘が試合を観戦し、その後イチローが彼の墓を訪れたエピソードは彼の野球の歴史を敬う姿勢を象徴している。イチローの哲学は一歩ずつ一歩ずつ。彼は派手なパワーヒッターではなく、バットコントロールと俊足を武器にコンスタントにヒットを積み重ねることで歴史に名を刻んだ。彼の成功は一夜にして生まれたものではなく、毎日の努力の積み重ねの結果だ。また彼は野球の歴史を知るために何度もクーパーズタウンに足を運んだと語る。殿堂入りが目標ではなく、歴史を学び偉大な選手たちとつながることが大切だと考えていたのだ。その結果、彼は日本人として初めてメジャーリーグの殿堂入りを果たすことになった。ビリー・ワグナーは歴代最強クローザーの一人として殿堂入りを果たした。彼の最大の武器は身長180センチに満たない体格ながら160キロを超えるフォーシームを武器にメジャーリーグの打者を封じ込めたことだ。彼のキャリアのハイライトは西暦1998年のアストロズ時代、当時のチームメイトだったランディ・ジョンソンからスライダーを学び、それが彼の武器となったと言われていた。しかし実際にはブラッド・リッチが彼にスライダーを教えたと明かし、意外な裏話を披露した。ワグナーが語る成功のキーワードはエンデュランス、耐久力。リリーフ投手は1球で勝敗を左右する厳しいポジションだ。彼はリリーフ投手にとって最も重要なのはいかにして長く活躍し続けるかと述べ、野球人生を通じていかに持続可能なパフォーマンスを維持するかにこだわった。その結果、メジャーリーグ歴代5位のセーブ数422セーブを記録し、名実ともに殿堂入りにふさわしい投手となった。今回サバシア、イチロー、ワグナーが殿堂入りを果たしたことはメジャーリーグだけでなく全世界の野球ファンにとって歴史的な瞬間となった。彼らの物語から学べるのは才能だけでなく、日々の努力、支えてくれる人々、そして野球を愛する心が最も大切であるということだ。野球は個人競技ではなくチームスポーツであり、長い歴史の中で多くの選手が築き上げてきたものだ。これからも新たな才能が現れ、新たな伝説が生まれるだろう。未来の殿堂入り選手はもしかすると今夢を追いかけている君かもしれない。野球の歴史は続いていく。この熱い物語をこれからも一緒に見届けよう。